and I'm sticking my finger right the way through there. Not so much as a red mark. It is literally smooth enough to have a good time. So it's just a cheap and nasty off-the-shelf little Dremel tool, but the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to use it to match the gasket here to a manifold. And now all I've done is thrown a few of these M6 bolts in just to hold it in place. So I've just gone and done that side, which if I can get, I've opened it right up. But what I have noticed is down along this joint in there, there's also a buttload of rough stuff that quite frankly I want to get rid of.
That is a particularly abrasive bit, so I could feel it as soon as I started using it that it would not take much to de-burr the inside there. So I'll throw this tapered tip back on because I feel like that'll be better just for getting the little edges off.
Now you do have to be more than a little bit cautious when you're doing anything like this, because you are in fact removing metal from the inside, and the risk that you're taking is that you're actually going to break through the casing there. And on a manifold like that, it's not a big deal. A bit of liquid metal would patch it right up, but if we don't have to, then I really don't think. All right, well, I can try and show you, but I don't have good enough light to really shine it down. But what I can tell you is that there was a lip around that joint on the inside that I have, I'd say, successfully rounded out and smoothed. And then I just shoved that little bit of wet rag down there just to try and collect any excess shavings, because the last thing you want is metal getting inside your engine, or should I say, any more metal getting down inside your engine. I didn't see this when I got it out of the box. It's not going to focus for me, but you can even see in that lack of focus how much metal is sticking out inside of that exhaust. That would have been sucked straight into the engine. So I'm going to keep that little tapered head on. That's far too abrasive for the work I'm trying to do here, and the metal is way too soft as well. Ideally, you'd want to be setting this up in a vise, but I will say, when using any kind of power tool, but in particular an abrasive one like this, even though it's my very first time using it, and you're seeing me use it for the first time, I will say less is more. You be nice and gentle, and I was rewarded with an almost perfectly shaved piece of metal that was sticking up. Yeah, try and get it as close as I can in focus. But all of that was sticking up inside of the exhaust, which there is still a bit of crap in there. So we'll get back to work with the Dremel.
Alrighty. So I'm inspecting the inside and the outside of these welds in here that are rough as guts. I'm just going to go ahead and take a little bit more off the bottom edge there. As you would have seen, I was heavily focused on this top half there. That's where the worst was. But while I'm at it, there's a bit of a lip between the flange there and the tube. And if I can get that as smooth as I can, well, that just means better airflow and less crap falling into the engine.
So I have taken as much meat off there as I possibly can. I wasn't afraid of being particularly rough with this one because I do have another brand new pipe sitting in the second kit I got that I never used. But I mean, you just saw me doing that. You saw how much jagged metal was in there to begin with, and now it's smooth. It is as good as it gets, and I'm really, really happy that I took the plunge and decided just to buy the Dremel instead of being afraid of it. You can't be afraid of tools you've never used or things you've never done. Sometimes you have just got to get in there and get it done. Alright, so now we've gone and done that, we can fetch my little 10mm. We're going to give this a good shake now because any metal filings that happen to have come off and fallen down into the exhaust, we should be able to rattle out. There's often a fair amount of flak that's in there. No need to be rough with that, just be patient. I want to show you, if I can, the inside of that. That is not that's like rust right there. God knows how long this thing's been sitting in storage for. Probably a while. I feel like the 50cc motors aren't as popular as the bigger ones. And we'll see if it's worth it.
I spent a great many years running sanders, electrical sanders, timber sanding. There's one thing I'm confident in my ability to do, it's remove crap and make it look better.
Done. Look, it's not pretty in there, but no more rust. Alright, so now what we're going to do is gently bolt the exhaust on with the gasket. A heavier duty gasket than what you would find on the carburetor. So there is still a significant lip in there. So I'm going to go ahead and pop my little tapered hop away. Alright, slow and steady wins the race, they say. Be careful, don't use too much pressure and you won't run into any hassles. I'm just going to get in there and pull out all the nasties. Right, I'm not going to give it any more than that. I think that's fairly well. I know you can't really see too much of what I've done in there, Now the main reason I wanted this Dremel, again you're not going to be able to see, but down inside the intake and the exhaust ports is a substantial amount of crap. So we're going to get the Dremel in there and try and clean it up, which is precisely what I said earlier I was afraid of doing, but you're not going to get anywhere unless you challenge yourself. Now I do believe the exhaust side is the worst. Again, I wish I could show you exactly how bad it is, but I don't even have a pen light I can use in here to shine it down there. But there's enough for me to be concerned and to go out, buy a tool and give it a go. What's the worst that could happen? I'm going to go ahead and change to the other bit because the metal in there is substantially tougher than what I've been using previously. This for me is all just trial and error. I'm being a bit blasé with this engine because it's only a 50cc and I've got another 66/80 coming anyway. So if this engine does fail miserably, I've got a backup on the way. Which is why the reason I bought this engine is I wanted something to practice on that I wasn't too worried about. And if what I'm doing here works wonders, well then that just gives me more confidence for the future. I just looked over and realised we'd stopped filming, so I haven't checked to see how much we lost there, but basically what I've done is I've gotten into the exhaust port and I've dremeled out the lip on the inside. Now there is still a substantial amount of junk on the inside of the cylinder wall, which I'll have to be very, very careful to polish off and to make sure that I don't damage the interior wall there. The question is, what did I do with my little tapered bit? Ah, there it is. that is now so very, very smooth, which it looks a bit rough because, let's face it, it is my first time with a Dremel, but I'm trying to get a good angle where I can get some light in there. Can't really see what I've done because what's a good angle with the light for me is not necessarily good for the camera. But there's the port. Look, you can't see very well because the light's straight above me. And as soon as I try and get some light in there, the camera casts a shadow. Alright, so I'm not finished dremeling yet, but I'd like to get in there and get rid of as much of that grit and grime that I've put on the inside of the cylinder wall as possible. And also doing this, if there's any more sharp edges in there, I'm going to find it, and I'm sticking my finger right the way through there. Not so much as a red mark. It is literally smooth enough to have a good time. Look, I can't even attempt the transfer cases here because, well, the transfer ports, simply because I can't get to it from the outside. There's still the same sort of thing where it's really, really mucked up. Alright, now I've just got to get into the intake side now and do the same thing. It's like cleaning a rifle barrel. And just like that, it's like a potato farm in here, and dirt everywhere. Alright. There's still a bit of a lip in there that I want to work out. So I'll give this another run over. Alrighty. You cannot be too thorough when it comes to cleaning all the crap I'm being very, very, very brave right now, poking the Dremel onto the inside, because if you damage the cylinder wall, it's game over, Red Rover. Now it's also rough as gut here, but you don't want to shave them down because that will actually agitate the air and help the carburation of the fuel. So, same demonstration as with the exhaust side. There's no way I would have stuck my finger all the way through with all the jagged metal that was in there to begin with. Well, I won't congratulate myself until the engine actually runs, but for a first effort with a Dremel, I have to say I'm pretty happy with those results. Namely how smooth I was able to get that on the inside. Look at that, you can see straight down, there we go, good angle finally. Straight down the guts without a single little lip, and let's see if we can do the same for the exhaust. Can we see that? It's a little bit harder to see because it is a funny angle, but that has been perfectly, well not perfectly, but really well rounded.